So we're back in the day. This is S2B Original Stu, and I'm with Jane. How's it going, Jane?
Yeah, pretty good, Stu.
Excellent. So let's just hook straight in.
All right.
It's Jane, and you are originally from?
I am originally from Brisbane.
Brisbane?
Yes. I was born in Brisbane, so I must be from Brisbane.
Okay.
And I grew up on the Gold Coast, so I'm a saltwater girl.
Yeah, wow.
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to high school. When you say you grew up, you went to high school in the Goldie?
I went to 7 years of Catholic primary school at Surfers Paradise.
Okay.
And then I did Miami High for a year, and then I did Southport High for a year.
Okay.
So, yeah, I did all my schooling on the Gold Coast.
Okay. I know quite a few people that I've met over the years have gone to Miami High.
Yeah, me too.
It sounds great. It sounds like a place in America. Whenever I go there, the first time I was like, oh, Miami, wow, that must be really cool. And I think of Miami, Florida.
No, it wasn't like that at all.
It's not.
The best thing about going to Miami High was there was a hill.
Yeah, where it's got Miami High.
And
I think it's still there.
It had a mine. Apparently the mining students from, must have been uni in St. Lucia, they had this exhibition inside. So there was like a tunnel that went through this mountain, and there were geological exhibits in there.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I never knew that.
No,
I wonder if that's that hill where it's written.
I think that is. Okay. And then there was the chairlift as well. Do you remember the chairlift?
No.
Oh, there was this chairlift, and there was this car park, and you just go there like as a matter of course on the weekend. Should we go for a chairlift ride? So you'd go there. And it went up this. I went to the top of this hill, and I mean it was quite spectacular. And then it just brought you back down again. There was nothing up there. There was no,
and
drinks or anything.
It was part of the school grounds.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was a commercial thing. Okay. Other people must know about this.
Wow!
It's quite, and I've got a photograph of me and my cousin. We were both in our sleepwear. I was in my little twin set, and he was in his jammies, and we were on the chair. And the chairlift. Oh, wow. Going up the chairlift, yeah.
Okay.
That was a great thing.
Wow. Like all those sorts of things that used to be around, fun things to do like that. Like there was one at the Royal Easter Show in Sydney, and like through the showground complex there, it was always there. I don't know if it was always operating, but...
Yeah.
But...
it's like the monorail too. I wish I'd gone on the monorail
more
when it was there. Well, maybe once, but it was so slow you didn't really want to go on it.
Okay. Did you know we used to live across the road from each other?
No.
In fact, it only came up on my Facebook memories today on Commonwealth Street in Surrey Hills.
Yeah, what number were you? Because I remember.
We were the house. You know
where the mosque was? Remember the mosque?
Where was the mosque?
We were on the corner of like Albion and Commonwealth.
Yeah, well, I was the first house on Commonwealth on the...
Darlinghurst side.
On the Elizabeth Street side.
Yeah. We were at the other end.
And we had a fire in our house.
Oh.
It was in the attic room.
Fabulous. Yeah. Some great old places there.
Yeah, that came up in my Facebook memories. I took a photo of myself out the front of it this time last year, today, when I was leaving to go to Vietnam, and Dom commented.
Oh, special.
Oh my God, we were neighbours.
It was a great neighbourhood back in the day. I loved it.
Yes, we used to have because there was the Matthew Talbot hostel.
Oh, we used to live across the road from it.
Yeah, so you'd virtually diagonally across from me.
I had the most amazing experience when we lived in Commonwealth Street. I tell you, we lived at 180 Commonwealth Street.
Okay.
And this friend of ours who was also a clown teacher, he taught us in New Zealand, and I remember him standing outside our house one day on Commonwealth Street, and he looked up and he said, that's a good number, because he was into numerology. And I went, oh, yeah, why is that? And he said, it's karmically complete number. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll remember that. So sometime after that, I had a dream at one night, several months later. And in the dream, I remembered being locked up in this building when I was about 15. I was incarcerated in this building, and it was attached to the children's court. And I always remember this room, and it had bars on the window, and I was looking out into this alleyway. And when I had this dream, and then I woke up in the morning and I thought, oh my God, it really happened, like it really did happen. I was incarcerated, but I'd been incarcerated in that very building across the laneway from where I was now living. So the whole karmically complete thing just came full circle.
Wow.
Yeah, I really got it that. I really got it that I'd been incarcerated in that room there, and now I was living in this room here and looking across.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was trippy.
Oh, God, I don't know. I don't have a lot of dreams that I remember, but I've had a few over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And yeah,
they're powerful. You got it. Castaneda used to say...
They've been about my dad, who passed away in 2005, and like it took me 11 years to dream about him.
Oh.
Like after he died, and it was... Yeah.
Took that long to process it.
Yeah, I didn't really process it at the time because I was up here. I was at work. My brother rang me. He's like, "Dad died." And I'm, what? And and then I had to drive to Sydney the next day. So I really, I don't know. I didn't process it in a social kind of way.
No.
I really internally, I kind of felt grateful that that's how I got to deal with it. Like,
well, you were functional and you took over and you did everything that had to be done.
Yeah, I was.
Very practical.
I was by myself, and I don't know. Like, it was interesting. I didn't really. I kind of felt it on that really broad emotional level more when David Bowie died than when my dad died. But it also kind of, it was almost like I don't know. I didn't have to hold it together for that, like I did when my dad died. It was
exactly, and it just becomes a trigger, and then it's just good to get the tears out.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Bowie died, I was just I cried a couple of times.
When who died?
David Bowie died.
Oh, yeah.
I just thinking about it through, over the course of a couple of days when it happened.
Yeah.
And just, discovering David Bowie was a massive thing in my life that shaped the person that I sort of was throughout my 20s and who I kind of am now. I don't know. I guess it was that kind of, what's the very stereotypical story of discovering David Bowie.
Oh, well, each to his own.
Yeah. But, no.
He was a bit androgynous for my taste.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
interesting, eh?
So, what was the first record that you bought?
It was Rubber Soul, the Beatles, Rubber Soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And what was the first concert that you saw?
I think the first official one was John McLaughlin and the Mahavishnu Orchestra.
My God, I've never even heard of that.
Oh, they were big at the same time that Santana was getting big in the States. Yeah.
So when was that? In the late 60s or early 70s?
Well, that was in Sydney. It would have been at Sydney. Oh, or was it in Brisbane? No, it was in Sydney. Probably Hordern Pavilion.
Okay.
Probably in the 70s. I know. The Darwin cyclone was in 74, wasn't it? So it would have probably been 73.
Okay.
Oh, but before that, the very first performance I ever saw, it's just come to me. I was living in Brisbane and I saw this poster, and I used to work in town at an advertising agency.
So, sorry, was this before you went to the Goldie to go to high school, or did you go back to Brisbane when you finished school? Okay.
I was born in Brisbane.
Yep.
I lived on the Gold Coast. I went to Brisbane. I lived in Brisbane.
So when you sort of left home?
I went to Sydney.
Yep.
And then I went to Brisbane.
Ah, okay.
But I was still, and now I've lost the thread. Where were we going? Oh, yes. So I'm living in Brisbane. I don't know. I must have been 16 or 17 or something. And I saw this poster one day for this performance that was going to happen at the Brisbane Town Hall, the beautiful Brisbane Town Hall. And it was for a Spanish guitarist called Manitas de Plata. He was someone, Manitas de Plata. It was like, I didn't know him from a bar of soap, but I really liked the look of him. That Spanish and the guitar.
Yeah.
And I took myself to a concert all by myself to the Brisbane Town Hall to watch a Spanish guitarist. And I couldn't believe it. At one stage, they actually walked off the stage. And I'd never seen that before. They walked off the stage and down the aisles and all around the audience playing guitar as they went.
Wow.
So that's the first one.
Wow.
Manitas.
Okay. Wow. God. I didn't go to any... I guess I was about 15 or 16 the first concert I went to. Yeah.
Well, Well,
I didn't get like God. I was speaking to that went to their first concert. They were a little kid.
I know when I was on the Gold Coast too, there used to be a thing called the Holies. It was called Holies. You remember there was a Holies?
The chocolate.
Yeah, it was called Holies Battle of the Bands.
Ah, okay.
And I remember once going to one of those. They used to have them in the big surf clubs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were very young when you went to
I
that
was
one?
very young, and I remember I got backstage for some reason, and one of the band members was changing before he went on. And I used to be quite androgynous looking in those days. And he walked past me and realised I was a girl. And he said, I'm really sorry. I wouldn't have got changed if I'd known you were a girl. So I thought that was so sweet. Holies Battle of the Bands.
Oh, God. Yeah, I think Holies... I can remember they used to have like a show, like a show bag.
Oh, they would have had a show bag. Well, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Sydney.
Oh, okay. So you probably wouldn't have had the Holies Battle of the Bands.
Look, I'm sure that there was probably something along those lines.
Yeah.
Like
so it was
back
like
then.
teeny boppy kind of music, you know, and there'd be lots of bands come. And lots of people would come and watch them. So it was a competition of some kind.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask around about Holies Battle of the Bands.
I think Holies made pollywaffles, didn't they?
Oh, I think that was the one.
Yeah.
I don't think they call them pollywaffles anymore, though.
No, I think they do, and they pulled them off. Like they pulled them, they stopped making them, and then I think there was a demand, like a big outcry, so they started making them again, or something.
Yeah, but
like
I think there was a whole PC issue about the name too.
Oh, really?
Yes, I believe there was.
What's not PC about pollywaffle?
Polywaffle. Well, I don't know. I mean, polywaffle. I don't know. Who knows? People take offence to everything these days.
Yeah, well, I mean, like there used to be Gollywog biscuits.
Oh, you couldn't have that now.
Yeah,
And there's Gollywog biscuits. Oh no.
There's been some big sort of big thing. Oh, you know that place that burnt down, the Little Ayers Rock.
Yeah.
Apparently that like had the last in Australia shop that sold gollywogs, and yeah, I saw that.
Do you think it might have been like the people might have come and set fire to because they were so enraged by the gollywogs in there?
Antifa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Protest burning. Oh, bloody hell.
So what? What was the first car that you got?
Oh, the Datsun 200B.
Datsun 200B.
Yes,
yeah.
and I always remember buying it because I went by myself to buy the car, and it turned out it was a Muslim guy who I bought it from, and you know, he was very nice and showed me the car. And,
sorry, is this in Sydney or?
Yeah, this is in Sydney, and I bought the car from him, and I always remember I went to shake his hand. And when he saw me go to shake his hand, he put the keys in his hand so that when our hands met, it wasn't like flesh to flesh. It wasn't palm to palm. It was this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, that's odd, because my dad had always taught me it's really important to have a good handshake, and he was this man giving me this really cold, icy handshake.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and then it wasn't until later I realised, he probably wasn't even allowed to touch me, you know.
I do like a Mason influenced handshake.
Oh, how does that go?
It's like
it's
a non-aggressive show of dominance, but by putting your hand over like that. And,
yes.
And so no matter, like even the biggest burliest bloke comes to grab your hand and you turn your hand like that, and it gives you complete control over the handshake.
To you. So I would do that. Is that what you're doing?
Well, no, I'm not turning your hand. I'm turning mine.
You're presenting it like that.
Yeah, like I'm turning it over at the last minute.
I'm submitting and you're dominating.
Yeah, and it's like, but it's a non-aggressive show of dominance.
Do it again. Let me be the dominant one. Oh, Stu, yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it.
Yeah,
I've
I don't know, because like I guess when I read about it, and my grandfather used to shake hands like that.
Oh,
and I was, what the hell, like, and I've actually got his little lodge case.
Oh,
I've kept it at my mum's house because I don't want.
I understand. What happens when two Masons meet because they both want to do the same shake?
Well, that's the secret Mason handshake, so you know that you're a Mason. You know how they always do like there's
but
always.
if they're both coming in.
Yeah, so like you're going to not like, I guess it will go like that. And you're like, you're in the lodge. How's it going, like? So,
Oh, God, I hope we haven't told anything we shouldn't be.
yeah, I know.
Oh.
I know.
They might come knocking on our door.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
they're nice. The Masons are good people.
Yeah.
If you want to be one, you have to ask one.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
one. I said the ads in the paper, remember? I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, no, I didn't
The
see.
Masons were calling for members.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They were
Okay.
running ads in the local paper.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Because like they reckon that the Masons are like all the top cops, just about all the politicians, like they're all, all the
probably.
doctors, they're all like that. They're all Masons.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
But I asked I read a book during the 90s about it, and I asked my dad, who was a copper, like that, like, you know, has anybody ever, like, I just read that, well, he's like, oh no, he said he got asked to join the lodge, but he was like, oh, I'm not interested in any of that,
No.
you know, like, he was like, when he retired, he was a Crown Sergeant, like that was as far as he was able to get in that sort of, but, you know, I'm guessing people that he might have gone through training with had more opportunities if they became Masons.
Yeah, it's like people who go to expensive universities often have better opportunities.
Yeah, expensive schools.
But it's quite meaningless, you know, at the end of the day. Some of them are just so corrupt. And
I mean, it feels like...
It's awful. I'm kind of glad I never went to those schools.
It kind of feels like we're in this sort of unescapable downward spiral in society because of it at the moment. Like it just, I can't see any way of changing.
We can't think like that. We can't think like that, Stu. For the sake of the young ones, we have to be positive, you know. We have to be upbeat.
I know.
I agree, but I totally agree with you.
Look, I mean, I try and be as upbeat as I can, but ultimately it kind of doesn't really look as good as what it felt like it was going to be, say, 15, 20 years, well, post 9/11, pre 9/11.
I've been waiting almost 45 years for the change, so you know, it's probably more. I've probably been waiting 50 years for the change. I've probably been waiting my whole life.
Throughout that time, would you say that has there been any time more than another where it's felt like that change is going to come to you?
Oh. Well, there's always that period in your youth. It's associated with youth. Like we were living in New Zealand during our youth and the place was just ripe with possibilities. Yeah. So whether it's a place or an age, you know.
It's just probably that thing that when you're green, you're growing, and when you're ripe, you're rotting.
Well, yeah, like we're all dying right now. Yeah. Well, no, you've got to come to terms with it.
I've got to get a drink.
Okay.
I've got to take a pee.
Go.
So let's just quickly stop this, and we'll be back. We're going to time travel. Like to the listener, it's going to seem like half a second. To us, it's probably going to be 5 minutes.
It will be different.
So yeah,
it'll be a different place.
Parallel universe. We're back. How's that?
That's
time travel.
Fabulous.
I just made it peak.
Okay.
Well. So yeah, we were.
You promised you weren't going to talk about that.
Well, we're not going to talk about the. Like, we're not going to the level to which we're rotting.
As we speak.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So when I was speaking to you today, like lining this up, I'm like, just shoot me a text when you're on your way. And you're like, I don't have a phone.
That's right. Very difficult to send texts, I find, without a phone.
Yeah. Like you are one of the few.
Well, I guess I'm unique then, aren't I?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So do you use a computer?
Yeah, I have a computer at the shop. I have a pricing program.
Yep.
I have a laptop.
Yep.
And I send emails, and I'm not on Facebook. I send emails. I do purchases. I do all my banking online.
Yep.
Do
you go down? Do you watch YouTube things?
I watch YouTube things.
Yeah.
Yes. I go to ABC television and I look at stuff, and SBS television.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you watch? Do you find yourself watching much? Like, I don't know to what degree you watch free to air television on the television that comes through the antenna. Like,
yeah, I choose what I watch on free to air.
Have you swapped out a lot of that free to air viewing for things like YouTube?
No, simply because I don't like looking at a small screen.
Yeah, okay.
And the sound quality is not nearly as good
Yep.
as sitting in front of a big screen with big speakers. So, yeah.
I just got my computer hooked up to all of that. So, like when I watch YouTube, it's like watching it on. I watch it on telly.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And I've got like a little keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that better?
It's the shape of like a video game controller, so it's really fits in your hand. And it's got a full QWERTY keyboard on it and a touchpad, and I just control the computer.
Oh no, I'd never go to that degree.
Oh.
No, that would take up too much time.
See, I I hardly even watch telly anymore.
Oh wow!
We just watch YouTube or.
See, I couldn't trust myself. I'd be watching stuff all the time. I'd never get anything done.
Yeah, well, I probably fall into the trap of watching YouTube more than what I ever watch TV.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good thing because it's real. They're real people, aren't they? It's not scripted.
And it's, well, I mean, I guess to a degree, some of it is.
Well,
but
I
fall down rabbit holes where I'm watching something and then down the sides a whole bunch of things that are kind of related to what you're watching. And it's like, oh, wow. And
it's really easy to get sucked into that.
I've actually discovered a lot of music.
I know.
Way.
There's a lot of good stuff out there to discover. It gives you hope for the future, doesn't it, when you start exploring the internet and YouTubes and people doing wonderful things out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's a couple of YouTubers who do daily, basically almost daily vlogs of their lives. One guy is this guy, Augie, who lived in Indiana or somewhere in the sticks in America, and he's gone to New York. He rides a BMX. He's got a couple of cameras, and he basically documents his day-to-day life. Often when he's in New York, he does deliveries on his BMX, and he's got the GoPro strapped onto his chest, and he just brings it home and edits it. But you know, this guy's in his 20s, and he goes through the ups and downs of life. You know, like one day he's getting a fine for doing this, or he lost all his money to the IRS. Like, he's just like learning these lessons in life, like that we all have in our, like, growing up in our late teens and through our 20s, and he's just putting it all out there. And that's like when people say, "Oh yeah, I like watching reality TV. I watch MasterChef or whatever." It's like,
I think that's
not
why
reality.
That's why I read. You see, I read biographies, autobiographies. I love reading autobiographies for the same reason that you like watching this guy.
Yep.
With, because you're seeing everything through their eyes. You're getting someone else's perspective.
Yeah, well,
on how to live a life.
But it also sort of has this like soap opera quality to it.
It can do.
Where it's like, oh wow, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. Like something sort of.
Or what do they call it? There's a term now. They call it. You know how you get. You get soft porn and hard porn, and then there's another kind of, you get food porn.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like this sort of borders on one of those kind of porns.
Reality porn.
Reality porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really into reality porn now, aren't we? As a species, it seems.
We are. Well, I don't know. Is it that, or is it that this medium that allows you to get access to so many people that hasn't been there before? Like, there's so many people in the world. You can have 10 million people that are into what you're doing, but that's still a absolute drop in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, I guess it gives people who have interesting hobbies, shall we say, of connecting with other people who have like-minded, whether it's recycling or watching porn or dancing, it just connects you with all those other people.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that it has I've often thought, this is definitely changing our brains.
Oh,
like this technology, like just the fact that you can, like I've retained memories, or not retained. I've regained memories through social media, like through technology, and just our pure ability to be able to communicate with as many people as you want to communicate with throughout your life. The fact that you can easily stay in contact with them, whereas 10 or 20 years ago, you had a friend that moved to Sweden. It cost you a lot of money to be able to, if you wanted to keep in regular contact with them.
If they were that good a friend, you'd write letters. That's what you did.
But it's
wrote letters.
It's still not the same as like speaking every day,
no,
or speaking a couple of times a week, like what you would
No.
if you lived in the same town or...
No. I guess that added a little frisson when you saw them again, because even though you'd been writing, you know, there are big gaps in what happens to a person. But when you see them day to day, you don't notice those leaps so much.
But when you interact with them day to day, they remind you of so many things that you've forgotten about. And like collectively, like you're interacting with a lot of people that you wouldn't have normally, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have, through that part of your life, interacted with because they moved or whatever. And so we're reminding each other of things that we've all, everyone's forgotten different things.
Are we better people as a result?
I don't know.
That's the question.
It's also like, I mean, I've said the same sort of thing to my friends about, okay, we're in 2018. There's a lot of places in the States where you're allowed to smoke weed. There's a medical cannabis thing going on. Gay marriage is being voted for in referendums and being created all around the world. It's like there's all these kind of progressive things happening, but compared to 1992, we are less free than what we used to be. And all these kind of progressive things are they're drip feeding them to us to keep us distracted from the fact that, like, overall, since 1992, we're less free.
Well, now I think they use the justification that they're having to impose more rules and regulations for our own good, to protect us from this phantom boogie out here who's going to come unless we put all these barriers in their way. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think, you know, when those planes hit the towers, they were just rubbing their hands together going, over the next 20 years, we are going to get the level of governmental control that is unprecedented in our history.
I totally agree. When I saw that, when that happened, I just said to myself, our lives have changed forever.
I actually naively thought that they would turn around to collectively the Middle East and say, look, what's the problem? Why are you guys being this full on? What's up? Let's sit down and work it out. And then, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days later, I was just like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, I'm an idiot and how naive of me.
Yeah, I know. You're an idealist. You're not naive, you're an idealist.
Yeah, well, I guess beyond a certain point, to maintain that idealism becomes a little bit naive.
Yeah, I know, in the face of what's hitting at us all the time.
Like, it's, I don't know. It definitely freaks me out.
You've got to be optimistic. You have to be optimistic for Bowie's sake. And there are some, you know, that's the other thing about YouTube that's shown me that there are so many smart young people out there, and they are onto it, baby. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to take this crap for much longer. You know,
I'm inclined to agree with you. Actually.
Yeah, I really do think they're onto it.
Look, I mean, what's gone on in the last 6 months or whatever it is since Parkland shootings in America? These kids, like, it affected these kids. They get out there, they use the medium that they haven't had half their life, a quarter of their life, or whatever it is, like us have had. It's been a fixture in their life since the first memory that they have. And you try and mess with this kid, like any of these people that have tried to mess with this David Hogg kid, the main kid who, like, the dude, he just shuts them down absolutely comprehensively. I think he got a whole bunch of, through using social media and his ability to do it, got a whole bunch of sponsors to pull themselves from some lady that hosted a Fox program that said something about...
I must say, I haven't followed this particular incident as closely as you have, because, I don't do the whole YouTube thing as much as you.
Yeah, and just the social media in general. But it's like, you know, all these people, unfortunately, from our generations, who put a lot of things on social media regarding... it's just basically, you know, kids aren't as good as what we were when we were kids because they don't have to put up with shit like we had to put up with shit.
Who would say that? Which generation would say that?
I don't know. Probably more my parents' generation.
How old are you, Stu?
I'm 49.
You're 49.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm 64 this year.
Okay.
So does that mean I'm old enough to be your mother? Oh. Who's got a
Hang
pencil?
on, 50, 64, unless, if you had me when you were 15.
I could have.
Well, I guess, yeah, technically.
People did back then. People were always having babies at a young age back then.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm sorry. Well, I would never say that to you. As a parent, I would never say that to you.
What?
Well, whatever it was we were talking about.
No, what were we talking? We were saying about the kids being shut down by the older generation.
Yeah, by the older generation. I
And-
would never shut you down if kids want.
Well, you know, like organisations like the NRA, and these kids are just like, nah. You can't just, like, you're not speaking to my parents here, you're speaking to us. You can't just peddle that shit to us. You're going to go down.
We just have to wait for them to die. They just have to wait. They're going to die
yeah.
someday. Oh, no.
Oh, no, like, I mean, it's almost the whole reason that I'm doing this is because I'm kind of got to this point in my life where I'm like, this thing is here. I wish I was 30 so I could embrace it to its full extent. And I wished I'd... Because it's such a great opportunity.
Well,
when I'm talking about this thing, I'm talking about the internet and our ability to
49's
communicate.
a great age too. 49 is a good age to embrace all these questions.
Well, that's what I'm kind of doing by, like, I'm trying to, I guess, to a degree, you know, how elder people complain about how kids have this social, like, online image.
Yeah.
That's not a real.
Yeah.
I think that they're quite conscious of the fact that it's not real, that it is their online image. I think that they have a degree of understanding that we don't give them credit for. That, hey, there's a difference between me and what you see online about me.
I hope so.
Like, I mean, that's certainly.
I hope they're not divulging everything about themselves online.
I don't think they are. I just think that they might be trying to make us think that they are.
I don't know. I don't have any teenagers. I don't have any contact with teenagers.
Neither do I, really.
No. So
Like,
I don't know what makes them tick.
I guess that sort of being able to look at it from the outside and having, like, I mean, you don't really have that much of an interest in it, whereas for whatever reason I do.
Yeah.
It gives me an objective sort of way of being able to look at it without being corrupted by having a teenager in there in the mix.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Like, it's one thing to say to parents of a teenager, you know, if you don't talk to your kids about what they see online with regards to porn specifically, like, they're not going to know that that's not real.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're seeing and that's what they think is real. And it's easy to say that when you don't have to do it. Like,
it's a very confusing time for parents, I think.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
I wouldn't want to be one.
No,
right
like,
now.
I mean, I've got a disabled daughter, and again, like, this is something that I'm actually probably going to put up on my YouTube channel with this in a little bit of a not a discussion, but sort of a, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it type thing.
Stu, I think you should.
But and yeah, she will get a mention. But yeah, I've got a disabled daughter who is intellectually disabled, so I don't have to worry about her getting into all the stuff that neurotypical kids are getting into.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, she's not a kid; she's freaking nearly 19. So
yeah, but you don't have these problems. You have other issues to deal with, you know.
That on a lot of levels are quite a bit easier.
Well, they're more of a practical nature, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's, but yeah. Anyway, I don't know. So over the years, like, I don't know, like your first, not so much your first record, but like your first gig.
Yes.
That's a pretty kind of offbeat gig for a kid to go, wow, I want to go to that.
Well, it is. It is very offbeat. I think I was a really offbeat kid in general.
Okay.
I didn't march to the same drum that everyone else marched to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you find that kind of confusing and alienating and a bit? No. It was like a double-edged sword.
Well, I remember people were very aggressive towards me, and I learnt very early on just to walk away from them, and that was always the easiest way. Okay. To avoid confrontation, you just walk away from things. And And that really resonated with me, and I think I've always lived my life by that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even to this day, I can not specifically, but I know there are people that I have cut from my life because that was the best thing just to do, to walk away from it.
Yep.
Not to talk about it, just to walk away.
Did you find, for me, like...
The lights have all gone out. The lights.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
out.
okay. That's just the screen.
It's going to sleep.
Saving power.
Okay. For you...
You kind of... For me, I was in high school. I had my friends, but I didn't kind of feel like I was a part of anything, if that made sense. I kind of like... I don't know, you guys, like it's just, I don't get ya.
Yeah, like a different tribe or something. And you're not quite sure what their ways are. What are the customs of this group? Like that?
Well, I could see what their customs were. I couldn't work out within me, like why it didn't resonate with me as much.
Yeah.
And then eventually you find a whole bunch, like you find somebody who's kind of got that same.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
And then next minute you found it, you two are a crew, and then you find another couple, and and next minute, you know, there's a whole crew. You got your really core crew, and then you realise it's kind of all this thing that I kind of didn't get, and I kind of wish that I did. Actually, it's much better here where I am, rather than being over there, like with those people that. Like, for instance, they were that thing that I didn't quite get at school. They were the people that had kids when they were like 19 and
yeah.
And
I know.
Because I was on that outer, I was still having a good time. I wasn't thinking about settling down or doing anything. Like when I was like in my late 20s, 29. I didn't really, and even when my partner at the time fell pregnant, it was like, oh my God, no. And I was 30, or no, 29, coming up 30. It's like I don't want to. Like I'm still young.
I know. Well, same. I never was like, oh no, I don't want to.
And then like half these dudes I'd gone to school with, like
I guess
at 30, they look like my dad.
Yeah.
Like, it was just. Yeah. So I mean, in the end, it's like better. It was better to be.
Close call.
I'm stoked that I was kind of like,
me too.
That you were.
Me too.
And it's only at the time I wasn't, but now that I look back on it, at the time, were you happy? Like when you were you happy to be there? Like, well, it's like, or were you?
I was happy to be by myself.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. God. Oh, that's an enviable quality. I can be by myself up to a certain point, but beyond it, I
think you've got to start early. You know, start the training early.
Okay, I have to go to the toilet again. Okay, we're back again. We just started talking and forgot to. Well, I mean, we ended up like this is actually so easy with Jane. Thank you very much. There's this fine line between when we're actually talking and when I've just walked back in from the toilet and we're just chatting, and it's like, oh my God, we should be. But we were just saying that like the whole premise of this that I'm doing here, it's kind of creating an oral social, informal oral social history. It's like if people, it's almost like Big Brother in a way. Like when you watch that TV show Big Brother. Not that maybe I watched the first year or something like that, because it was interesting and it was new. It was like, wow.
Just like this is, and lots of people will want to listen to this because it's new.
I hope so. The hard thing is getting it to people. I don't have a TV show. I've got this. I've got the YouTube channel, but I've got to actually get people to it. That's the challenge.
Of course. There must be people who know how to get it to that place.
Possibly. I just hope that like by the time I've got, for argument's sake, 150 of these up, somehow. I don't know if there's too many YouTube channels there that have got like 150 videos on it that don't have any subscribers.
Yep.
Like it's just got, it must just be able to organically grow. But yeah, I mean, this is just.
I think you're in a good place now. What's this? The third interview? Fourth? Okay.
No, fifth.
Fifth. Well,
Yeah.
if you're looking for 100, by the time you get to 100, I think it will resolve itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to have to do them a bit more often than what I am. But
Yep.
it's not always easy to line them up.
No.
With myself and with somebody else. You know,
Yeah,
you've both got to
know.
be.
It's tricky, but in the end, it's worth it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, like for me, this is kind of like this whole thing. It's like a whole process of me dealing with a lot of my insecurities. Like,
How does this help you deal with your insecurities?
Because I'm putting myself on a platform where people can judge me.
Yeah.
And say whatever they like, and like if you read a lot of YouTube comments, they can be pretty nasty, and also just the fact to have enough confidence in myself to do this, like it goes against my grain not to kind of draw attention to myself.
To not draw attention.
Yeah. No, sorry. It goes against my grain to draw attention to myself.
Yes.
So it's like it's just one of these things that I don't. That's part of me, and in retrospect, looking back at my life, I don't think maybe it's necessarily been such a positive thing to be like that. Maybe for my mum, who perhaps got it off her parent, like it's something that's been learnt. And I was only talking to my mum on the phone about it this morning. It's like I wonder whether or not maybe I.
And what did she say?
She could see it. She related to it, and she sort of said a similar sort of thing.
She could see it. It was a trait that ran in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my grandfather, I can remember and it made a massive impression on me. My grandfather sat at the end of the table and said, "Well, everyone was talking about politics or the Prime Minister or whoever it was.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm a communist," and that that had a massive that stuck with me. And
how did the rest of the family feel about him being a communist?
Well, I guess that's just something that they've always dealt with.
And what are the rest of the family? Do they align with any particular group?
There's all sorts of alignments. I don't really know. I can't remember who was there when he said it.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm not too sure of.
How did that affect the way he related to you and the rest of the family and the people around him?
Okay, so he was somebody who went to World War II.
Yeah.
Came back from World War II, had a young family, like existing through sort of basically McCarthyism period of time where there was like dob your neighbours in if you thought that they were a communist. If you were a communist, you'd get black banned from doing this and doing that. So it was like, act normal, don't draw attention to yourself.
Okay.
Or not act normal.
And this is in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is all a figment of my imagination or not, but like when I said it to my mum, it kind of resonated to her. Yeah, I never thought about that, Stuart. Yeah, you might have a point there type thing. But yeah, like, so in a way, this is like, even these things that I'm like, these podcasts that I'm doing, they kind of are they're not so much of an interview, but they're a conversation where I'm kind of divulging things about myself, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get over, if that makes any sense.
Yes, because you're divulging stuff about yourself. It's like your grandfather standing up at the end of the table going, "I'm a communist."
Yeah, and he never, like, I would always say, "Oh, why don't you do the Anzac Day march?" He's like, "Oh, because it glorifies war. I don't want to do that." So
and
again,
did he go to war?
Well, he was in the Air Force, and he like covered the northern part of Australia.
Yeah.
And like kept guard of that. He was like a navigator.
Yeah. Well, when there was a threat, the Japanese were coming in that way. Yeah.
So, like I used to say, we would be, because it was around his birthday, Anzac Day, all the time, and so sometimes we would be down there. The Anzac Day march would be on. He goes like, "That's mine, squadron or whatever they're called." Like, and yeah, I don't know, the amount of times I said, don't you just want to go and see all the dudes again? He's like, no, I just don't want to.
Sounds like he was a man of principle.
Glorifies war, you know, and I guess it was probably I was quite a bit older when the communist thing resonated with me, and it's like, well, you know, like, well, look, out of all my cousins that express any sort of, I'm probably the most left wing of everybody that I grew up with, and all of my family, and all of, yeah, like easily.
You're the black sheep of the family.
But like, okay, I just think about how I was brought up.
Yeah.
And, you know, to be nice and to share your stuff, people on the right see that as being inherently left, being a mark, like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, instead of accumulating stuff for your own personal.
I've done that as well.
Gain.
Well, accumulated stuff for just nothing. It's just a garage full of crap.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely. Where would you put yourself on the political scale, Jane?
Oh, definitely left.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Way left.
It just makes sense. Like.
Yeah, I've always worked on the principle, and I don't know where it came from, but I've always worked on the principle that the less I have, the more there is for other people.
Okay.
So the less I need for me, the more there is. The less food I need, the more food there is to go around. The less resources I need, the more resources there are to go around. Which is really, you know, the opposite of if you're far right, you know, and you just want to accumulate.
Yeah.
You know, a capitalist, shall we say. Let's call them capitalists. And they're usually to right-leaning, aren't they, capitalists?
Yeah, that's strange. Well, yes, I guess strictly speaking, but yeah, I accumulate so much crap. But like, my grandmother used to say, Stu, you're not interested in anything of any value. You just like junk.
Oh, I think there's a word for that. There's the H word. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
I thought you would have been over that because a number of times you have to move. Yeah, you've moved.
It's only been in the last 12 months I've had to move.
But isn't it good? Like every time you move, you get rid of a whole bunch of stuff.
I get rid of a bit of stuff.
No, you got to get rid of a bunch of stuff.
Well, this next move I'm about to make, I've got to get rid of a bunch of don't have a choice, basically.
Yeah. Well, when we did our last move, it was great because we went to a much smaller place.
Okay.
So is your place smaller?
Yeah.
Good, so you'll get a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're really close to Treelands Drive, so it'll be so easy for you to, you know, drop it off.
Yeah, op shop. At the same time, like, I love my clothes.
I know.
My clothes are really stylish, and I just don't want them going into the oppie.
But are there some that you haven't worn for a while that someone else might enjoy?
Yeah, look, I'd rather give them to the to the vintage clothing shop. To someone who would appreciate like their style and stuff than just give them to the charity shop sort of thing because like
oh man, I've given some amazing stuff to the oppies over the years.
Yeah, wow.
Amazing stuff. Just like I've found some amazing stuff at the oppies over the years.
Look.
And if someone hadn't, you know, given that treasure away, it wouldn't have come. Look, see that jumper?
Oh wow.
That jumper came from the oppie.
Is that mohair?
That's a hat. Oh, it's some kind of one of those incredibly soft and warm wools. Someone's hand knitted it, you know.
Wow.
They've hand knitted that, and it's really old. You can tell from the buttons.
Ah, okay.
They don't make buttons out of that material anymore.
Wow.
And so that was someone's treasure, you know. And for whatever reason, they took it to the oppie shop, and I found it, and now it's my treasure.
When I was in my 20s, we used to wear heaps of op shop clothes, but
I know.
You
the quality used to be much better.
Yeah, and you could buy like clothes that were made in the 60s and that were made in Australia or made in England and now it's just like
sad.
Clothes
full of synthetics.
Yeah, clothes are so cheap that people buy them and just chuck them straight out, and now the op shops are just full of those, and occasionally you find something.
Like this beautiful hand-knitted jumper. Yeah. Well, that's been a big issue on that waste on war thing, hasn't it? Clothing and how cheap clothing is and all the synthetic fibres that it's made of. And, you know, it's all bad for the environment.
Yeah.
But there was something really encouraging on the radio on ABC today. It was about this young girl. I don't know where she lives, but their community's got a scheme together where they repair clothing. So you can take your clothing to them and they'll repair it. And she thought it was wonderful. She loved it.
Okay, I think I might have seen something about.
Yeah,
I've seen that
it was on ABC
yeah.
today.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. It's encouraging. It's like these kids, like what we were talking about before with the kids. It's like don't mess with them because they're actually
No.
And you know all you people that are saying, oh, these young people in this, they need a safe space, and we went to war, and these young. It's like, you know, they need a safe space from the world that our generation and our parents' generation created.
Exactly.
They didn't create it, and it's like if you got troubles with your Wi-Fi, who are you going to ask?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
they're not stupid.
They're more articulate than we were, we were allowed to be.
Yep.
And they're not afraid of standing up and saying what they want.
No.
It's like Pussy Riot, you know, in Russia. Those young girls, how brave were they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and like
man.
running on at the soccer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
they were fabulous. So there's lots of good stories like that out there. So there is hope.
Yeah, I guess there are like I mean, but I guess like even when we were growing up, there was only pockets of people who were on. You know how we're talking about being on the outer. There was only it wasn't most people. You know what I mean? Like.
No, that's true. That's true. But that largely changed when women entered the workforce. You know, when you got away from that patriarchal society where the men were running everything and the little women were staying at home, and now women are out and about and people are talking to each other. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there seems to be, like, there's absolutely a just sort of. Do you think it is happening organically, or do you think that it's something that's been pushed to happen? It seems to me just to be fairly organic overall. Like.
Yeah, I guess it is. But then again, in some of the Arab countries now, the women are gaining a lot more freedom. It's not because the men are so benevolent that they're going to allow women, you know, to walk in public and drive cars or whatever. Giving them their freedom is not from a benevolent point of view, it's from an economic point of view.
Yeah, entirely.
They realise that they need the women to be out there working and producing as well. So,
yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you meant economic in terms of there's a lot of sort of inter-country sort of moralism going on. And it's like, oh, geez, you know, if we want to be able to sell heaps of stuff to America or blah, 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 this is sort of a kind of a bit of a noise that they're really making.
I think it's a small part of it.
Yeah.
I think it's. I've heard experts on. You know, I listen to ABC all day at work often, and there are people who've been putting these views forward that this is mainly because of economic reasons. It looks good too that women are getting more freedom, but really we need them to be in the workforce. We can't afford to have all these half the population just lying around. You know, they kind of think that the women do nothing because women's work is not valued. So it's seen as a valueless thing. Whatever you do in the home, they've got to be out there being seen, driving cars, you know, going to work. I mean,
it's the difference, but the value of what value is shifting.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense, to being almost completely based on finance.
Yep.
It's like doing the things that a mother did 35 years ago in the household isn't inherently as valuable as going out and earning a wage. I mean, maybe the desperation to earn a wage is greater now than what it was before.
Yeah, well, it costs a lot more for people to live now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You couldn't afford to buy a house in Sydney if you're a single income, just an average, you know, Joe Blow.
Yeah.
Lower level white collar worker.
Yep.
Probably needs both of you to be working.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to live in that environment.
And I mean, it's kind of. I was having a discussion the other day talking about how so many jobs have disappeared. Generally, jobs that are unskilled, like bus conductors and the guys that chuck the garbage onto the trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, even if those jobs did exist, they nowhere near would be enough to be able to survive. The pay that
they'd have to pay them a decent wage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we were in Surrey Hills, they used to come round. The men used to come round and pick up the bins when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were there.
Yeah.
Didn't
It was
they?
still been. Yeah, it was still.
And it's probably because it
like
was in the city.
30 years before, they used to come around and pick up the shit.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, we lived in a great place in Chippendale that had like had a back dunny that had been replaced with proper
a flushing
sewer.
one. Yeah.
But it also had an inside
yeah.
toilet. But like there was just and they're still there. All these
I
like
know.
little walk lanes.
Oh,
that
they're
are all
beautiful,
through.
those little laneways, aren't they, in Surrey Hills?
Yeah, you could send people around to do tours.
I'm sure someone does.
Yeah, and they do like I saw a thing where it was like a walking tour with a actress or something, and it had to do with Kate Lee, the lady that used to be the madam in the 1930s or whatever. Like there was Kate Lee and Tilly Devine, and you started at her house, and then
that'd be a great tour.
yeah, and I think this woman was an actress that played her.
Oh, wow.
And she would like talk about it, and you'd walk from one place to the other.
Yeah.
What a great thing.
Yeah, excellent thing. Yeah.
I don't know, like I hear a lot again on social media. You probably don't hear it about Sydney dying.
Sydney dying?
Yeah,
No,
because
I
they
didn't
bought in
know
these
that.
liquor license lockouts.
Yeah, the
and
nightlife. Yeah, I knew
overzealous
about that. Yeah.
policing of liquor licenses and things like that. But there does seem to be all this sort of crazy theatrical kind of weird crossover stuff taking place in streets, and all this sort of people are getting really creative about what to do.
Yeah, good.
Outside that lockout zone.
Do you remember, was it last year? Remember Dan?
Oh, the guy that wanted to put on
Dan. Yeah, he did the record, the music in the front yard.
Yeah, and he got the idea from Venice or something.
I don't know. He pulled it off once, and I think it was the second time it was just about to happen.
Yep.
Apparently, the police got in touch with him and said they didn't think it was a good idea.
Yeah, and it was the licensing branch of the lower area command or whatever they call it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People drinking and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, we can't have people having fun and, making noise and heaven forbid.
I know.
Yeah, isn't that retrograde kind of behaviour? It's like, it's
bizarre.
really, it's really bizarre. Yeah.
It's.
I would have been so pissed off if I'd been Dan,
What I don't understand
is. It was going to be great.
He didn't, like, in Europe they do it about the same time as we were doing it here, except it was their summer.
Yeah.
So it was for you'd get the daylight right into the night.
Yeah.
He didn't do it here because that's like a couple of days before Christmas, and I was just like, man, you should have just done it. Like, like when we've got the shortest night of the year and the longest day. Like,
oh yeah,
it would.
Oh yeah,
but,
I know. You got to go underground,
Yeah. And,
but he was putting it in the paper, so that's the deal now. Yeah. Who was it once said, don't, it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
Yeah.
I love that. I just think that's the best.
I'm going to keep that in mind.
Have you heard that saying before? No.
But no.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be the ethos, my life motto from now on.
Oh, absolutely. Don't ask permission. Just when it happens, oh, forgive me. Oh, I didn't mean to do it.
Yeah, no.
What are people going to say?
Yeah.
They're going to forgive you. If they're good people, they'll forgive you.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's not the good people that have control over us.
No, that's true. That's true. Oh, it'll get them in the end. Somehow it'll get them. There'll be an extra wrinkle on their face, I'm sure.
I know, like I see these people that worry about all this stuff that I certainly don't. I just think, you poor bastards. I don't know.
Oh, well.
What was the first job you ever had?
Oh, I remember that. I've got a funny story about that. I got a job at a chemist shop in Mossman. My first ever job was at a chemist shop in Mossman, and I wore a little white uniform. I bought a little white uniform to wear, and it was run by an unmarried, very mature son and his mother. And I always remember one day this young guy came in the shop. You know, it was kind of fun working in the chemist shop. And this young guy walks in the shop one day and he sort of looked around. He came up to me and he said, "Oh, excuse me." He said, "I'd like some wet checks, please." And I went, "Sorry?" He said, "Oh, I'd like a packet of wet checks." And I went, "Oh,
wet checks?
Wet checks." And because I was new, and again for the third time I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry. What was it you wanted?" Because I didn't recognise it, you know. And again, I made him say it again. He wanted some wet checks, and I went, "Oh, wet checks." And he went, yes, just like that. And I went out the back and I said to the pharmacist, I said, "Oh, there's a guy out there. He said he wants some wet checks. Where are they?" I'd never heard of wet checks.
I've never heard of wet checks.
Wet checks was a brand name for condoms. So I'd made this poor guy ask 3 times. And finally, when I asked the pharmacist out the back, he said, "I'll take care of it." And he went and he got a set of keys off a hook and he went over and he unlocked a cupboard. And
oh, my God.
And all that stuff was I wasn't to do with anything to do with it. It was all locked in a locked cupboard.
My God.
Cupboard. Can you imagine? Yeah.
So what year was this?
That would have been 69.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wow.
69.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
In my lifetime, I wonder when.
Yeah.
I wonder when it all sort of started to.
Oh, well, I remember my father took me to the doctor to get a prescription for the pill when I was about 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
My father took me. That's all I'll say.
So, okay, so were you a part of that? Okay, so were you a part of that sort of first wave of feminism?
Oh no, I think there was no. I was probably a bit young for the first wave. I was probably a bit young by about 3 or 4 years. Germaine Greer was in that first wave of feminism.
Okay.
Yeah, you know that era.
So when I thought that was like the early 70s, or was that like the late 60s?
In 69, I was only 15.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I was only 15 then. So yeah, there was. I remember going to a moratorium protest at St Lucia University.
Yep.
So that was just starting then too, that whole thing about moratorium.
Oh, that was to bring the troops home from Vietnam.
To bring the troops back from Vietnam. But I think I was a little bit young. I was still a bit young. I didn't quite know what was going on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
But then again, we were fairly behind the rest of the world in a lot of ways, sort of socially, weren't we?
Oh, we were.
Australia?
We'd been held well in check, hadn't we?
Yeah. So you went to New Zealand. When did you go to New Zealand?
Oh, when I was about 22, I think, 21, 22.
Okay. And given that when I spoke to you, I said, well, can we speak about this? It's just over an hour in and we haven't even come to it. But I saw a photo of you and your partner, Dom, sitting at the back of a gypsy caravan.
Oh,
what?
I love that photo. It's such a beautiful photo.
I know. He's got a cigarette. He's holding a cigarette.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, he used to smoke.
Oh, yeah, we were big-time smokers. Oh, yeah, well, it was so cheap back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, man, they were just about giving it away. I remember I had a job.
Compulsory to smoke.
Oh, it was. I mean, everyone did it.
Yeah.
You know, you went to the doctor's surgery. I swear to God, I remember sitting opposite the doctor while he was on the other side of the desk, and sitting there was an ashtray between us, and I'd be smoking away, telling him about the pain in my leg or something. You know.
Oh my God.
It was just normal. You could smoke in hospitals.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you could smoke in. I left high school in 1987. My friend, 1989, I got a girlfriend and her sister had some kids, and I can remember in 88 or 89.
Oh, even then?
Having a cigarette, but we had to go to the smoking section of the hospital.
Oh, the smoking.
But it was inside. It was just next to the stairwell. It was just, it's...
Things, people say that changes, take so long, but... Even in our lifetime, that's a major change, isn't it?
Oh, look, when I went to LA in 2013, I got off the plane. oh, well, I didn't get off the plane and immediately see it. Like, I got my hotel, I went for a walk down to Venice Beach. It's just like, oh my God, so many young people smoke here in America compared to Australia. Like, I can remember sitting down a shopping centre and seeing a kid in a school uniform having a cigarette in the last couple of years and going, Jesus, I haven't seen that for so long, a school kid having a ciggy.
Yeah, I know.
Like, they really have gotten onto it in this country. And it kind of... I mean, you couldn't completely prohibit it. It would create a massive black market. And I guess even what they have done is created a much bigger black market than what they used to be.
Well, I think they have. And I mean,
they've certainly stopped a lot of people smoking. There's a lot of people that don't smoke anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it hasn't stopped people smoking. Like
New Zealand, sorry.
Oh, yeah, New Zealand. What happened to New Zealand?
Yeah. So, yeah, the caravan, like it was... Like...
Oh, yeah, the house truck. Oh, yes.
So it didn't have horses?
No. It was an old Bedford truck. It was like a 1950-something Bedford truck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the idea... And in New Zealand, they were called house trucks. Literally, you build... You know, like now there's these tiny houses?
Yeah.
Okay, so we used to build tiny houses out of packing crates because when new ships got sent to New Zealand, they used to come over the seas in these fabulous mahogany plywood crates. So there was this amazing resource in New Zealand of beautiful heavy grade mahogany plywood sheets. So all the house trucks were literally made out of car crates. It was fabulous, house trucks.
And so what did you do? You like lived nomadically or?
Yeah, we did. For a lot of years we lived, we used to do the fruit picking season in Hawke's Bay and we'd camp out in the orchard and we'd pick peaches for 3 months.
Okay.
Or apples or something. And then after a while we fell in with some friends who were circus performers. And so then we decided that we'd join the circus and we'd do the popcorn. So we did the popcorn and they did the performing. And then we decided that maybe we'd like to be clowns and jugglers. So then we went to a clown school in Auckland and we started learning about being clowns. And then we loved it so much. By that time we'd built 2 house trucks. Oh, and in between then, before we went clowning, every year for about 4 years, we used to go and live on a festival site and build the festival. There was a big festival at Ngarawahia.
Okay.
Sweetwaters. It was called Sweetwaters Festival.
So it was like a rock festival.
Yeah, it was like the equivalent of yours. What were the ones you had over here? In the 70s.
Sunbury?
Sunbury and that kind of thing, yeah.
Okay.
People would come and camp for 3 days at a festival.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So for many years, we would, all the people with house trucks, we'd park in a big circle and we'd have a big fire in the middle and there'd be a cookhouse and we would live and work. Every day we would get up and work and there was someone to provide us with food. All our meals were provided. They'd bring us out smoker. We'd be walking in the middle of a paddock building toilets or building, car crates,
Yep.
Toilets and stalls for the craft village or the food village. Yeah, and we got looked after for 3 months. We'd get pocket money. We'd get like $20 a week spending money. Everything else was provided. And we get $20, which was enough to buy buckets of tobacco. And then at the end, when the festival finished, then we'd get a lump sum of money.
Wow.
And we did that for many, many years, and it was just fabulous.
So what took you there to New Zealand?
Oh, was it like a man. I went with a man that I met.
Your current partner now?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Wow.
And I always remember sitting on the aeroplane and I was so naive and I was wondering to myself what language they spoke in New Zealand. I had no idea. I was in an aeroplane going across the sea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long did you end up staying in New Zealand?
I probably stayed in New Zealand for about, Dom and I left about 86, so maybe 7, 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
I actually thought you were from New Zealand.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I really love New Zealand.
You sound a little bit New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah. A bit of a mongrel when it comes to my accent.
I've been told that by... Yeah, I've been told that by my cousin and her husband in the UK. They said that don't sound anywhere near as Australian as my mum, but when I listen back to these recordings, I sound Australian to me.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah.
in America, everyone's like, ask me if I'm from England. They don't ask me if I'm from Australia.
Yeah.
And when you tell them you're from Australia, not England, they actually get much more excited.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like when Canadians come here and someone mistakes them for Americans, they hate it.
But they love it when you get that they're Canadian.
Oh, when you get
say,
that they're
you're from
Canadians.
Canada."
Oh, yes. They get it. Someone understands.
When I was in New York, this guy asked me for a cigarette. No, for a light. And I gave him a light. Actually, and I ended up giving him a cigarette because he wanted me to light a butt that he just picked up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Where are you from, man?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Australia." He's like, "Arnold Schwarzenegger."
Oh, Austria.
I'm like, "No, man, Australia, not Austria." And he's like, "It doesn't matter. It's all the same." Anywhere that's not America. But yeah.
Starts with A.
Have you been to the States?
Yeah. We worked in the States for a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
doing your clowning.
Yeah, we hit San Francisco and we were doing a double act, and we were doing all the usual haunts down there, like the wharf, the Pier 99, I think it was called. There were just there were some serious locations where you went, and some of them were too big for us. We couldn't. We were only just at the bottom of the ladder of performing, but we'd go and learn. But we hooked up with a guy there who had travelled with a circus that was run by a Jesuit priest, and every year he would take the circus from the west coast to the east coast. But when we were over there, he was in the process of taking the circus from Southern California all the way up to the Canadian border, and he was looking for performers to come with him. So we got hooked up with this guy who was a Jesuit priest, and we went and lived on a Jesuit novitiate outside Santa Barbara in Montecito in the hills there, and we lived there for 6 weeks, and we got the show together. And there was a Himalayan black bear and a couple of spider monkeys and a miniature horse.
Oh, okay.
And we lived in the trucks, and we travelled all the way from.
Did the monkeys ride the horse?
Oh, one night, the bear ate the tail off the monkey.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah, like almost severed it, and I had to hold this spider monkey in my arms while another man tried to mend its tail. And I tell you, this thing, your spider monkeys are small.
Yeah.
But when I was holding this thing, it was like I was holding a gorilla or something. It was so
really, really strong. Yeah, wow.
It was so strong. We had it wrapped up in a towel so it couldn't get its hands out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we travelled with the circus up to Canada. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we left. Then we left and went to Europe.
It's a crazy place, America.
Oh, totally.
I had no inkling to want to go there until I was in England in 2011 at my cousin's. I woke up and checked the internet as I do every morning. Like, oh my God, the Australian dollar's $1.10 American. My cousin's like, "Do you want me to send you to America this weekend? I got heaps of freaking flyer points. Go to New York."
Oh.
Okay. So I went to New York, and it was just like, I walked out of the back of the airport.
Yeah.
There's a red fire hydrant on the ground. I was just like, "Oh my God, there's a fire hydrant!"
Real fire hydrant.
Yeah. And then it's like, I'm waiting for the shuttle bus to my hotel, and this African American dude walks out, and he's got like the Colorado boots and these big baggy pants that were kind of halfway between his like waist and his knees, and he was kind of had this strut, and I was just like, oh my God, like
I know
this is real.
I know.
Like, what I see on TV is real.
I know it's trippy, isn't it?
And then after that, it was just like, wow, I love America. Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, I liked Europe more.
I've only been to the UK and to Amsterdam in Europe, and like I really did like Amsterdam, and not just for the coffee shops. It works really good in Amsterdam. The way everybody rides a bike, pretty well.
Yeah,
like there's the trams there. Obviously there's the coffee shops, but it's just such a chilled out place, and everybody's riding their bikes, and everybody's dinging their bells at people that are walking. Hey, watch out, I'm coming. And the people that are walking don't get offended that the bells have been like you ride your bike along the path down here and you ring your bell at people coming up behind them and they think that you're bloody being rude or something like that.
No.
It's just like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm coming up behind you.
You know what you can do. You come up and you don't use your bell. You just go ring 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 ring. You do that behind them.
I just pedal my ass off and throw myself onto the grass and then come back on, and it gives them more of a fright than the bell.
Oh no!
But like,
I always let them know I'm coming. You know, let them know.
Oh,
don't want to scare them. Some of them are really old. You know, they might just
But I ring my bell and they like look at me as though, who are you to ring your bell at me?
Yeah, but you know, hey, so many people now on the walking tracks and even on the other cyclists, they're wearing earplugs.
Yeah.
They can't hear you anyway.
I know.
Yeah. It makes it tricky.
It does.
I think there should be a law against that.
And like I've seen people like driving. But having said that, I've driven with my headphones in while I'm talking on my phone.
See, I don't.
Hands-free.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have a phone.
No, I don't have a phone. I don't have that problem.
Oh, man, like, you don't have a lot of problems when you don't have a phone.
I
you
know.
can be unreachable if you want to be.
And you know the nice thing about not having a phone? You get to talk to people. Yeah. You know?
It's face-to-face.
Well, if you break down on the side of the road and you haven't got a phone, you have to flag someone down and interact with them.
Yeah.
Do you know? You get to talk to people.
But like when you're ringing your friend to bring you some petrol or whatever, you're interacting.
Well, that's true. But
like before, I lived here when I didn't have a car for quite a while when I first split up with my daughter's mum. And I used to hitch everywhere, and I just met so many people. It was great. Like,
yeah. I picked up a hitchhiker today.
Did you?
Yeah, he didn't even say thank you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I thought, oh, man, that's not good. You got to thank people when they give you a ride. I didn't say anything because he was older than me, and I thought he should have known better anyway.
It's dangerous for an old man to be hitchhiking.
Well, it is. That's why I picked him up, because I thought, poor old bugger.
Yeah,
give him a ride. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's why anybody picks up a hitchhiker. It's like, oh, you poor bugger. Oh no, I guess there's always that. Oh wow, she's fairly attractive.
Well, people used to pick me up all the time.
Yeah, but you're a female.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Anytime I've hitched with a female, it's like, you hitch, I'll sit back here, and it's like 5 minutes. You got a lift.
Yeah, but I pick up guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pick up guys. Yeah. I pick up both sexes.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but I mean, like the first guy that drives along will pick up a female.
Oh,
generally.
yeah, of course.
It's just,
it's
just, yeah.
They just look harmless. We look harmless.
Yeah, well, oh God.
That's it. Non-threatening.
One day I hitched from Noosa to, and it was quite a few years ago now. It was probably 25 years ago. I hitched from Noosa to to Tweed Heads. And the first guy we got, he had like a car like in Mad Max or something. It was this black car with big fat wheels and blah, 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 blah. And like we're driving along and he's like, yeah, I've got Lou Reed flowing through me veins right now. Oh. And he's like, and his eyes were like golf balls pivoting from side to side.
Oh.
I mean, we got to our destination probably quicker than what we normally would have got there, but it was that was the only real freaky experience I've had with, and it wasn't that bad because I was with another mate who was a bit more hardcore than me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you get to see a lot when you hitchhike.
But yeah, it's a good way. It's a good way to see. It's a good way to see wherever it is that you're going. So.
Yeah,
it's good riding a bicycle too.
It's fabulous. Have you still got that bike of yours, the one you made with the sidecar?
Yeah, it's just down the back of the shed.
Yeah.
Like, see, and when I move house to this smaller place, I'll be able to get access to it because I've got to consolidate so much crap to fit into this place.
Yeah, good.
So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but it's
what?
It's kind of a little bit overpowered.
Overpowered?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, you're only allowed to have 250 watts.
Yeah, what have you got?
1,000?
Oh, that's quite a bit over.
Yeah, it's not just slightly over. Yeah, but like I just couldn't see a legal one pushing it.
Yeah, the weight.
Yeah. And I don't have an accelerator. It only works when I pedal. So if we're on that and the electric motor's going, I'm pedaling.
Could you turn it off?
Yeah, I can turn it off.
So you can just pedal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, a 250 watt wouldn't carry it. Like coming up the hill.
No, I know.
Coming up the hill, a 1,000 watt wouldn't push it.
No,
It doesn't
of course
push it.
not.
I've got to get
No,
off and
of
push up
course
the
not.
hill.
Yeah. Oh, so you don't really use it?
I haven't. Well, when I moved out to where the cane was, out of town.
Yeah, that was too far away.
And it was too dangerous to ride out there.
Yeah.
But we used to ride between the cane fields
yeah.
in the winter time. But when the summer came, I didn't because of the snakes.
Yeah.
So no, we haven't used it for about 12 months. Yeah, and it's just down the back of the shed. It's got a flat tire as well. I ran over a tack in my last
bugger.
in my last garage. And so I got to fix that. But
Yeah.
no, it's that was probably one of the biggest achievements of my life, building that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
She loves going in it too.
Oh.
Yeah. And one of her classmates, dads, said he saw me in it. He's like, "Geez, you were motoring along there." I was like going along the footpath in front of the harbour.
Yeah.
And I was
Gunning
my
it.
ass off, and buddy, it must have been going like 35 kilometres an hour or something like that. But no, it's. I really, really. As soon as I got on it, it was like, oh, God, I should have got a motorcycle license and got a sidecar and been taking her to school and picking her up every day in it, because she just like loved it. Like she's screaming and laughing in the just absolutely loved it. But,
oh wow!
Yeah, it was.
Well, it's not too late, is it? Couldn't she still get a motorcycle?
I probably could.
And a sidecar?
Yeah, I probably could.
Yeah, might take a while to get the money together, but but it'd be a great thing to have, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you know those scooters they get around on all the old folk. How powerful are those motors?
I don't know.
Because they're big, heavy-looking things, aren't
They
they?
don't go very fast, though.
They don't go fast.
But they ride them on the road.
Yes, I know.
They should have helmets.
With those little wheels, yeah.
And they're so silent. You know, the amount of times I've nearly been cleaned up walking out of shops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, no, we don't have to wear a helmet. The young people on the bicycles do.
Yeah.
We're old.
Oh, well, that's debatable too, isn't it?
I think they're the worst thing. Like, once you've got one of the, like, once you're there, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Like, if you're,
especially in this part of the world, we never go back, do we?
Like, it's just like, you know, if you give up on walking and ride one of them things, as an old person, it's like your health's just going to have a rapid downward decline, I reckon.
Yeah, oh, well, maybe it's the only way they've got of getting around.
Yeah, I guess if you've gone through that already.
It's like those walkers, you know, those walkers that people use.
Yep.
I said to someone one day, a carer, I said, they're great, those walkers, aren't they? I said, what did people do before they had those walkers? Yeah. And she said, I think they just stayed at home.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, you're probably right. Unless they had like a cane in each hand. But those people, they're out there there in the community, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because of walkers.
Well, it's,
Which
I
is
guess
a good
they did.
thing.
Like when my daughter first got sick, like, I don't know, probably 1 or 2 years after, when they realised that there wasn't anything they could really do, and she has seizures, as you know, but I was like, so where are, like, this can't be real. Like, where are all these, like, if this is my daughter, where are all these other people that are having seizures? Why haven't I ever seen anybody have a seizure other than my daughter?
Yeah.
And like, they don't go out. Like, they stay at home because
you're better off going out.
Yeah,
You can't live your life at home.
I can't believe it.
I know.
I'm urinating for Australia. I just got to take a pee.
Go for it, Stu.
Without a doubt, everybody has. What did I just say? Everybody has.
Similar.
Everyone has an amazing story.
Everyone does.
I'm almost doing this as a challenge to find somebody who just hasn't got anything to say. I guess to a degree, I have kind of been finding people that I thought would kind of be a little bit interested. Well, I mean, yeah, kind of people that I know.
Andrew Urban used to, remember that we were talking earlier about that show, Front Up on TV? Yeah. He used to meet some really ordinary people, and after a while he would just bring these stories out of them that you would never have imagined.
But like when you're saying, when you say after a while, we're not talking like 45 minutes, 2 hours. We're talking like 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. He would ask really confronting questions and you'd be going, oh, Andrew, I don't think you can ask that. You've only just met the guy.
Yeah.
But he just had such a nice persona and people just opened out to him.
Yeah,
they weren't threatened by the questions at all.
Yeah, well, that's, I guess, when I first explained to a few people, oh, this is what I think I'm going to do something along these lines, somebody said to me, oh, it sounds a little bit like Front Up.
Yeah.
And like I had to think for a while, and then I remember that. And it would only go for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was really short.
And like he'd probably speak to about 3 or 4 people over that time. And it was.
Yep.
But I mean, my influences are, I guess, that to a degree. But there's also this podcaster guy called Joe Rogan, who I think he hosted a show called Fear Factor, where it was celebrities doing sort of stunts with scorpions on their faces and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know the show you mean. Yeah.
And he also was involved in Ultimate Fighting, the UFC. I think he commentates for that. But he would just, some of his shows, like he'll get a guest in, they'll just talk. And some of them last for like 3 hours. And I just thought, wow, like I was sort of a bit like Joe Rogan and a bit like Front Up, just talking stuff.
Yeah.
But instead of stand-up comics or celebrities or whatever, just normal people.
Just regular people.
Just like Big Brother.
Well, and also Hamish Blake and Hamish and Andy, is it?
Yeah.
They're doing that thing on TV now where the two of them, they get one person, and I've never watched it.
Okay. I've never seen the ads. I've got to say,
they bring a person into this room in a nice setting like this, and this person's got this incredible story that they just share.
Oh, wow.
They must screen people to find these great stories.
Yeah.
But you should probably Google it.
I should.
I'm into Googling. Oh, yeah.
My TV sort of stays between ABC One and SBS 4 or whatever it is.
No, I've never watched it, but I know it's on a commercial station.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. But that's the situation where people are telling stories too.
Yeah, okay.
So it'd be interesting to look at how they do it as well.
Yeah. Well, every person that I've got so far, when I listen back and edit it, it's just all I can really think of is I can't wait to speak to them again. Because there's so much, so many unknowns or so many questions come up from like when I listen back to it, it's like, oh wow, that'd be interesting to talk about a bit more.
Where did that go? Where did that tangent go?
I figure I've got to do at least probably 30 before I get somebody in again.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you must.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's different, so you need to figure how to open people up, people up.
Also, I'd like to think that by the time I've done 30, recapping the people that I initially did, I'll have a bit more experience under my belt, and I might be able to get a bit more out of it. Or out of them.
Out of them.
Without wanting to sound...
No, in a nice way.
Yeah, in a nice way. But no, I appreciate you. I kind of did have to convince you a little bit, didn't I?
Oh, you had to convince me big time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't that hard, I got to say. I didn't feel like it was that hard.
Oh, well, I made you work for it a little bit because I went and listened to John Bunch's thing, and I know John Bunch, and I mean John Bunch has got so many stories, and I thought, I don't know if I'll be able to, give dates and times like John does.
No. No. Well, I mean, that was sort of... That was kind of more,
he was like a real journo, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was surprised at how much how exact he was able to sort of.
Oh yeah, he's got a really great memory for when things happened and who was there. And I was thinking, I'm not sure I could do that. But anyway, that's why I said to you, you're going to ask me questions. Do I just have to be talking?
Yeah.
Do I have to tell you the story, or are you going to ask me questions? You're going to lead me.
It's been okay, isn't it?
It's been great. I felt very comfortable.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
Thank you. Thanks, Stu.
Well, I guess on that note...
On that positive note...
1 hour, 28 and 52, 53 for... No, I'm not going to keep counting. Thanks, Jane, for coming in and sort of sharing some stories about what it was like back in the day. And
my pleasure.
A little bit of what it's like now.
Yep.
But at some point in the future now, we'll be back in the day.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
These are someone's good old days Right now, these are someone's good old days. You should never forget that.
Yeah.
You know, people always refer to the good old days. Well, right now, these are the good old days we're living.
Yeah.
So we must never forget that.
Yeah, yeah. And like everybody's personal good old days were the best days.
Yep. Yep. And there are young people right now, and these are their best good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Positive.
Big ups to all the young people having their good old days right now. Lucky bastards. Youth is wasted on the young.
Oh, I don't think I'd want to have their good old days, but anyway, I prefer my own.
All right, we're signing off.
Yay.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here, Jane. Take it easy, guys.
See you
This
soon.
is S2B_original. Bye.